We're now in June 2018, so it's time for another monthly update video in which I'll talk about what went on in the month of May and what we have got coming up this month of June. I always like to begin by highlighting three big things, and with no further ado, here they are. Big thing number one, I have started a podcast taking my videos and turning them into podcast episodes. So I'll talk more about that in the June section. Big thing number two, also something I'll talk more about in the June section. I have a Hegel talk coming up very, very soon on the 4th, and it's being hosted by the Turtle Island Research Cooperative. They asked me to do an introduction to the reading of Hegel, so I'll be doing that. And big thing number three, something that happened in May that you might have missed. I provided both a blog post and then a video interview for Common Sense Ethics talking about how to get started in studying philosophy. What went on this month of May? We had quite a few events, one of which started the month. A talk in the Philosophers in the Midst of History series. This one was on Augustine of Hippo. The video for it is linked to below. Then following up on that, we had our 50,000 subscribers online party. Raised a toast to getting 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, passing up that milestone. A little bit later in the month, we had another face-to-face talk in the Worlds of Speculative Fiction series. This one was on Andre Norton's Witch World. Then I had a series of online events, the AMA session. I did my philosophy chat for my Patreon supporters. Of course, we had our philosophy pop-ups. This month, we discussed the topic of triggering. And then we finished up the month with a session of the MKE Stoic Fellowship in which we finished up our study of Seneca's letters. I also got ready to begin the podcast, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that in the June section, but there's a lot of groundwork that I was laying in May. As I mentioned in the three big things, I also did a guest blog post, and then we followed that up with an interview with my good friend and colleague Leah Goldrick on her blog Common Sense Ethics and now her video channel. I was discussing the 10 works that I think are perhaps some of the best to start out studying philosophy with for a complete beginner. So I'll link to that below as well. Did a good bit of writing in Orexis de Noetique, a bit in Half Hour Hegel. I also wrote one piece in Policy of Truth, my friend and colleague Irfan's blog. And this month I did a lot of tutorial work, a good bit of consulting work, particularly in the field of ethics, and also some philosophical counseling as well. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, you can always go to the Reason.io site. I'll put a link to it below, and you can check out the sort of work that I do. Video work. What videos did we do in this month of May? I released 5 rather than the 6 that I usually do, half-hour Hegel videos. I got a little bit behind in part because of doing the work on the podcast and a number of other things as well. I released several Heidegger core concept videos. I also produced, but haven't released, except for my Patreon supporters, a number of videos on Plato's Republic, Book 10, which has to do with mimetic reproduction. You might find those interesting. Those will be coming out this coming month. I released a few more of the Q&A videos. I also did a video about the selfie app, the Google Play thing, or the Google Arts and Culture thing that you may have seen. And of course, we did videos of the events. The other thing that I'll mention that was really fun this month was my kids came up for Memorial Day weekend, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't get any work done, of course, but we had to, we relaxed a lot. We went to the pool. I got to hang out with them, and we did a lot of fun activities, including playing some board games. So that was a really great time towards the middle to the end part of the month. What have we got coming up in June? So let's start with events first. On the 4th, which is tomorrow, I'm recording this on the 3rd right now, at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, I've been asked to provide an online session for a summer seminar on Hegel's Phenomenology, and mine is titled, ambitiously enough, Introduction to the Reading of Hegel. This is for the Turtle Island Research Cooperative. You can see a link to the event below if you want to get yourself in on that. As far as like the logistics of that, you have to ask them about the Google Hangout, which is how they're going to be doing it, rather than directly asking me. Then the next thing that I've got is coming up on the 14th at 7 p.m. That's the next session in our Worlds of Speculative Fiction series, and this time we're looking at just a giant of science fiction, Arthur Clarke. We'll be talking about some of his novels, particularly Rendezvous with Rama, Childhood's End, all the ones that have to do essentially with, the human relation with the alien and beyond. On the 19th at 5 p.m., I'll be having a public Hegel Q&A and discussion session. That's Central Time, so you want to make sure that you check your time zone for that. On the 23rd at 12 p.m., again, another online event. I'll be hosting another one of my Dr. Sadler Ask Me Anything AMA sessions. So make sure that if you want to get in on that, you ask your question right away, because they tend to pile up and I can't get to all of them. Then on the 28th at 6 p.m. here locally at the Shorewood Public Library, we have the MKE Stoic Fellowship meeting. We're going to be beginning a study of Epictetus's discourses. And then on the 30th, at almost the very end of the month, at 2 p.m., I will be having my philosophy chat session for my Patreon supporters. The other thing that I should mention, if you're here locally in the Milwaukee area that you might want to check out, and that I'm definitely going to be at, is at the end of the month, there is a Aristotle and the Aristotelian Tradition conference hosted at Marquette University, which is just down the road from here where I'm based. So I will be there enjoying a lot of great papers and discussion. I won't be presenting, but I will be talking with a lot of the participants and perhaps even interviewing some of them. Now it's time to talk about the podcast. So for years, people have been saying, can you turn your videos into MP3s that we can download and listen to anywhere? And I've always said, well, that's a lot of work. And so I decided to put it as one of my Patreon goals. Once I reached a certain level of support on Patreon, which I reached at the end of this last month, thanks to the generosity of my supporters, it's now feasible for me to start converting those videos into MP3s and uploading them, and that's exactly what I've done. You can find the link to that. I've hosted it in SoundCloud. You can find the link to that below. And I started with Plato. I actually ran a poll to see who people were most interested in getting the podcast from at first, and Plato was up in the top. So were some other classic philosophers, and so were some existentialist thinkers. So that's the plan for right now. I'm not going to be doing transcripts of them right away. That's going to be at a higher level of Patreon support. And I've also, set at a significantly higher level. I will begin producing original podcasts rather than just taking video stuff and turning those into episodes. But that's for further down the line. What else? I'm going to continue doing some writing this month in all of my blogs. I also created a new blog just for the podcast where you can find out what's coming out if you want to. Got a lot of, philosophical counseling, tutorial, and consulting work this month coming up as well. My schedule is pretty full. But if you're interested in tutorials or philosophical counseling, you can email me directly at Reason.io or at greg@reason.io.com, or just go to the Reason.io site and check those services out. The other thing that I'm going to be doing and spending a lot of time on this month is class preparation. I've been asked to teach 2 classes at Marquette University in the fall, 2 different classes as it turns out. One is, sort of the revised intro level class, and the other is a business ethics class. And I'm also going to be teaching for the Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design a class specifically on philosophy of human nature set up for arts and design students. So I got to do a lot of thinking about exactly which texts and thinkers and how to do assignments and all the other logistics involved with that. So that's going to be something I'm going to try to knock out this coming month. What else is there to talk about? Well, my kids are going to be here for a week this month. So it was a weekend last month. Now it's going to be a week, and we're going to spend some great time together. I'm still doing my workouts, feeling great effects from that. But I'll also be doing a lot of video work. I'm hoping to get my quota of 6 half-hour Hegel videos done, and maybe even sooner than later this month. A lot of Heidegger stuff yet to release, and the Plato stuff that I produced and released ahead of time to my Patreon supporters, that still has to be released. I've got some Q&A videos lined up, and I've got an interview that I'm hoping I'll release tomorrow with a good friend and colleague here in the area. And then the event videos, you can expect to see them. And I'm going to be doing more book reviews. I've gotten a little bit behind, and the books are really piling up as people keep sending them in to me. So I think I need to start cranking those out. Maybe do 1 each week for the time being. So you can expect to see an uptick in those. So that's everything going on this month. I hope that you have a great month, and check out the podcast. And if you can make it to any of the online events, I hope to see you there.